What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Overpowered podcast, the podcast where we talk to the top digital creators of the internet about the amazing things that they create. I'm Ty King, and with me today is the breaker of bigness in business, the chauffeur of entrepreneurs. It's Max Mihro of the Entreprenerd. How are you, Max?
I'm doing great. I like the intro there. That was quite nice.
Yeah, I try to bust it down a little bit. You know what I mean? Everybody
Yeah,
deserves the big intro, like you're coming into the wrestling ring. You know what I mean?
that's fun. That would be interesting. Yeah, I like the
Awesome.
idea of like a show where you introduce different top kind of business people with like a hype kind of taglines like that. That's fun.
Yeah, we got to get hyped. We're doing amazing things, and that's like why we want to talk to you. So tell us about the amazing things that you're doing. Tell us about Entrepreneur.
Yeah, totally. So Entreprenerd is a live show where we do it every twice a week, but the main kind of session is on Wednesdays at noon. Every single week we have 90 minutes, and I'm live on LinkedIn, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, a bunch of different places. But basically, we build miniature startups on the stream in 90 minutes, and I've gotten decent at using a couple little prototyping tools on the internet. But we start with an idea, we start with a problem, and then we kind of boil it down to how can we solve that problem. And then we try to create something, either an informational product, either an app, either a website, whatever it is, to solve that problem and hopefully create a business out of that. One of the most, I think actually the first successful business that we've had on the show, we created a little while ago. We've done a bunch of different things before that, but we've actually started profiting off of one of them pretty significantly. I started an agency in a week. On the little 90 minutes, we built the website, and then I made a couple little additions after the stream called Unnamed Agency. And we help podcasters and live streamers cut down their content. But it was super easy to start, and all I use is PayPal and Calendly and my website. It's a very, very simple kind of process. But yeah, we build tiny startups on live streams is the goal, to kind of educate about entrepreneurship.
That's pretty amazing. So at 90 minutes, you can create all that just all of a sudden. And I like how you lean against no coding. It's like everything that you recommend is no code. So you don't really have to have those skills or in like HTML5 or anything like that to build a really complex website. And so you're giving them the basics in those 90 minutes. And that's pretty incredible. So how do you come up with a subject or problem that you want to solve for each one?
Yeah, so usually we do more sessions on the weekends, Saturdays at night in the evening. We goof off, I play video games, and we just like sit and brainstorm. And usually those are most popular sessions because it's mostly just fun, right? It's less kind of deep and educational. But during those sessions, we brainstorm a ton about like, oh, I'm having this problem. Oh, I noticed this thing. Oh, I talked to this individual. Oh, we're doing this interview, whatever. And we try to come up with ideas. And most of the time, half the time, if you have an idea, because we're so good at prototyping really quickly, spinning up an idea isn't that big of a barrier to entry, but usually you should always start with a problem whenever you're creating a new venture, right? You know you want to solve a certain issue, and if you solve that certain issue, it's a big enough issue, then you might get paid for it, right? But we kind of like semi-create our startup ideas around problems. If it's simple enough, we just go and build it. If it's a little bit more complicated, I'll do customer interviews, and I'll start to kind of boil down people in the industry, what problems they have, if our idea makes sense at all, etc. But usually it's on the live streams, and before I'm falling asleep, I just jot a couple notes down and talk about it on the next live stream and brainstorm with my audience. Yeah, there's no complicated process to it.
Right. So a lot of the entrepreneurs or people that try to start a business on their own, they get the idea that they want to get started. A lot of them that I've spoken to, that don't have a lot of capital to work with in the first place. I mean, you always hear that it takes money to make money, and so they'll bootstrap their way through business, and they will build their own website, do their own social media, and also, filing their services and taking care of their books and their financial planning. I mean, they've got everything covered under one person, and also trying to offer the business services that they're starting it for in the first place. And so then they started getting too stretched thin after they grow a little while. And that's where I sort of try to help them navigate their way around and find the right people to put in those places. But that's how did Entrepreneur get started? Was it just you were like, I'm tired of trying to form businesses with all these other people. I can do these things. I've got the experience to be able to find these tools. How did that get started?
Yeah, no, great question. So the reason I initially started was because I was end of my sophomore year of college. I'm out of college like a year and a half, 2 years now. And at the end of my sophomore year of college, I was studying business. I was in a business school, pretty solid business school, Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh. Pretty like relatively highly ranked, solid program. and I was in the entrepreneurship track, and they had a track for entrepreneurship. They have a great center there. Everything's great. I've heard that they have
Hmm.
good education in entrepreneurship, but like also very like relatively highly ranked. But by the end of my sophomore year, 2 years in, like halfway through my college career, I had taken no entrepreneurship classes. I had learned absolutely nothing about entrepreneurship or what it even means. I had no concept of what it meant. I just knew it meant like starting stuff, or starting a startup or whatever the heck. I had very like
Yeah.
random conceptions of how it worked. So that was about 3 years ago. Um, and so I got frustrated. And so I went out and I interviewed like 100 different founders over the next year, year and a half. And I asked them all, like, how did you start your thing? And after about a year of that, I really figured like, okay, maybe I can build something myself. I got started experimenting. I built a little newsletter. I built an event group. I started a company with one of my best friends in Pittsburgh, kind of connecting entrepreneurs together. I dabbled with a bunch of different things. And eventually I got into creating content on LinkedIn. And I wanted to create content for the people that were like me, that wanted to learn entrepreneurship, but really weren't absorbing or learning anything from people like Gary Vee or Grant Cardone, because they're inspirational and motivational. And there's absolutely a place for that, and people need that, but it's not informational. It didn't teach me anything about how to go and start something. And people like Tim Ferriss were kind of teaching me things, and they were experimenting with a lot of information, but it wasn't formatted in like an experimental way. It was very just kind of, it was very kind of hype oriented. It still had some sort of a hype element. So I wasn't totally satisfied with that either. So I wanted to create something that was as educational as possible and
Hmm.
experimental as possible and in your face, learn with me as possible, to solve that kind of niche. And I started making videos, had a video series, did like 40 little episodes twice a week, eventually started live streaming. It went great. I was very, very happy with live streaming. And in the past like few months, we've gotten to the point where we can really spin stuff up quickly just because we've experimented so much. But yeah, it's been quite a while. I've been live streaming for like almost a year and a half now. So
Oh wow, I get more experience with that. So I mean, that builds up speed. And so 90-minute build, that's incredible anyway. But yeah, getting better and better at that. So do you take a business when you do these lives? Do you start from the beginning of the assembly line and just go down? Are you registering with the state, the name or anything, or are you just coming up with the concept and then trying to move forward with marketing?
yeah, so great question. I get that. I just feel like I should get that question more. But I don't usually file anything. The idea is if you have an idea and everything like that, you have no concept of whether that's going to work. And the reason that we want to whip it up really quickly and just create a really lo-fi, simple prototype is because we want to test whether or not that people care at all, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you cannot, even if you get business, you still can't assume that this is going to be a successful business long term, because like unless you get an enormous amount of traction, everybody that you talk to, every potential customer says like, oh my gosh, I need your thing right now, I'll pay whatever I can get for it. Unless you get that immediate, constant, aggressive feedback from your customers, you have no concept of whether or not you're solving a problem long term, or people are going to stick with your service or product long term, or anything like that. And so it takes probably 6 months to a year of running something that like has traction to know whether or not this is like legit, right? So
Mm-hmm.
for instance, my agency, I'm doing work now. I'm mostly just doing it through PayPal. I'm treating it kind of as a freelance thing, and I'm Venmoing my editor for a lot of the work. Like it's very, very simple, right? And we're handling the taxes behind that, but we're doing it mostly independently. Once we get to the point where we have a lot more clients and we have like a lot more full-time work, and we're sure that our clients are going to stick with us, we're going to go and file. We're going to create an LLC. We're gonna get a lot of protections going on. We're gonna make sure that payment and everything and internal revenue is shared in nice ways. All of that comes later though. We focus on the very, very lo-fi. Just launch it. Let's see if it works on
Mm-hmm.
a small scale kind
A
of thing.
proof of
So
concept and try to see if it has traction there. That's amazing.
exactly, proof of concept.
Well, you have filed several patents, right? I saw
Yeah. Nobody's
that.
asked me about that. That's funny. I have, yeah.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah, I was reading up on the tab for like aluminum cans where you hook it into there and it makes a
It's a little
scoop. So
funny idea.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was like, well, that's
Um,
great.
the story behind that is my dad is a patent attorney, so that
Uh huh.
helps a good bit.
Sure.
Um, and that was kind of my introduction to entrepreneurship. Actually, it was inventing. I wanted to be an inventor when I was younger, and they kind of like one of the things that I wanted to be when I was younger was an inventor. But that was kind of my introduction because he works with startups all the time, creating new awesome products, right?
Mm,
And so
yeah.
he's very into the legal side of things and everything like that. And so we experiment with a couple of ideas and a couple of kind of business concepts, and you don't need to make a business or sell anything in order to get a patent. A lot of people don't know that. If you have a proof of concept and you think it's valuable and it hasn't been done before, you can go and attempt to patent it. And there's a process behind it. But yeah, it was kind of my introduction to how making something new happens. But yeah,
Yeah.
helps
Yeah.
that your dad is an attorney.
Yeah, yeah, for sure it is. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So like, on Shark Tank, a lot of the times when somebody comes on there, they'll have an amazing product that they're trying to give out. And they're like, okay, you know what? I really like the product, but you have a product. You don't have a business. Yeah, you got a logo and you're calling yourself this, but you don't really have a business. You've got this one product. And so you really don't, like sort of proves your point. You don't really have to have a business in order to have the patented product. And so
Exactly.
um, building yourself out from there and being the entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurs aren't really content with where they are. They don't just stay in one spot. They move forward and grow outward.
Part of the
Um,
experimentation process. Yeah. That's why it's so fun.
exactly. And I think that's why even if somebody is dead set on what they want to do, they should be watching your live tutorials because it might spark an idea. Like you said, you're coming
Appreciate
up
that.
with solutions to new problems, that maybe somebody hasn't really thought of, and
Yeah. Hopefully.
somebody's gonna be the
Yeah.
right person to do that. Yeah, exactly. You Okay, so one of your lives I watched was on TikTok for business, and I think this is a really interesting concept for businesses because I hear lots of marketing companies saying every business needs a TikTok, and I've tried, and I'm thinking just why? Why do we
Yeah.
need a TikTok for business? And so you sort of went through that whole process. So what was that
Yeah.
like?
So yeah, I'm glad you asked because that was kind of the reason that I did it was because everybody was talking about it. Everybody was like, "Oh my God,
Mhm.
business! You have to have a business account." Blah 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 blah. Blah. TikTok only functions for a very small subset of products. TikTok can be valuable and it can be useful for marketing if your audience is unbelievably consumer e-commerce focused, right?
Mhm.
If the thing that you're selling is under a certain price point, probably under like $20 or maybe under $30, if it's a very low price point, accessible to most kind of viewers on TikTok, because the audience on TikTok is people my age and younger, right, or somewhere around there, maybe a little
Sure.
bit older than me, and just kind of individual consumers. It's an entertainment app. It's focused on entertainment, so you have to frame some of the stuff that you're doing in terms of entertainment. But like a very small piece of businesses are consumer under that price point, right? And it's and e-commerce kind of oriented. If you're outside of that, it doesn't really seem to help. And I know a ton of people that are on TikTok. And yes, you can get some clients from TikTok. If you have a personal brand, building a personal brand on TikTok, fine. But the platform was mostly meant for entertainment, right? And so that's really, really difficult. If your stuff is motivation and inspiration, if that's your content and that's your personal brand, TikTok is for you.
Mhm.
Absolutely, 100%. For people like me that focus on information and focus a little bit less on the entertainment side of things, yes, we're fun, but I can't compress how to like build a website into 60 seconds or 15 seconds on a TikTok, right? It's difficult for me to do that.
Mhm.
That's why I do hour and a half live streams, right? So for most people, I would say having a TikTok for business, it doesn't make sense. If you have a personal brand and you're really aggressive on social media and trying to grow an audience around you as an individual, as a human being with a face that people can relate to, great. You can totally use TikTok just like you can use Instagram or something else like that. And if that connects to business, fine.
Mhm.
But everything else, no, it doesn't make any sense at all, to me at least. I haven't really seen anybody outside of those niches really succeed at all on TikTok. They just kind of spun their wheels on it. So I don't know. That's a little bit of me crapping on the platform, but I just it doesn't seem like my medium. So I feel like it's not most people's medium if you're a business. So
No, you're completely right. Completely right. Uh, Let me ask you this. So so you go on to your lives and you come up with a problem and you solve it and you show people how to create all the facets of their business to get it up and going. For those who consider themselves to be entrepreneurs and they get involved in these multi-level marketing things, like we'll say Mary Kay, they become an independent seller, right? And all of a sudden they want their own website, their own social media and groups and everything else. How do you feel about that?
So I've heard people call those pyramid schemes. I
Yes.
know people, I've also know people that genuinely are involved in them and are
Hmm.
successful. Like,
Yep.
and not in like a crappy way. Like they sell products and
Yep.
they help facilitate and they're just solid marketers for the parent company that organizes the multi-level marketing plan. Totally depends. It entirely depends. As long as you think that what you're offering, it's just like the way that I see it is you're kind of an independent contractor, right? You're an independent marketer for that company, and it's like affiliate marketing, kind of, right? Affiliate
Hmm.
marketing isn't gross. It's a little bit weird. It's a little bit funky, but everybody does affiliate marketing. I know hundreds of entrepreneurs that do affiliate marketing. Like, it's a very, very common scheme to make a little bit of extra cash if you genuinely believe that the product there is helpful and you are selling directly to customers, then that makes sense to me. But if you are like signing other marketers up and demanding that they pay money for stuff. And if there's kind of like you have to pay us money before you can make money kind of set up there, that's not affiliate marketing anymore. That's screwing people and not giving them enough kind of resources to get right. Like the reason that affiliate marketing works is because there's no barrier to entry. You don't have to pay anything. You just send out a link, and if the link works, you get paid. Great. But in multi-level marketing, there are some situations where it can get crappy because you have to pay to be involved, and there's no guarantee that you're going to actually sell products. And the majority of the way the company actually makes money is just by making marketers, quote unquote, pay them money to be a part of the kind of program. So it can get gross, but there absolutely are companies that do multi-level marketing that work really, really well. And it's genuinely a nice operation. It's like affiliate marketing. I know people that do it full time. It works, and they're genuinely helping people. So investigate. If it seems unfair, it is unfair. If it's not, and it feels like affiliate marketing and it's open to you, go for it. Why not? If you want to give it a shot, it's just like any other business.
Sure. I wanted to bring up one of your case studies, the chili truck that hires reentering citizens and sort of gives them.
You really dug
Oh,
in.
I did. I do. I like to dig in. I like to know who I'm talking to before we talk. You know what I mean?
Rock on.
But that really spoke to me. Helping people that are re-entering society and then give them a spirit of entrepreneurship. A group of people that are coming out, and a lot of them aren't given opportunities for jobs, and certainly not jobs where they can work their way up the chain of command. Mostly having to make do with construction jobs or that type of thing. And so that's pretty interesting to me. And so were you part of that in helping that get off the ground, or how did that go?
So yeah, no, that is, I run a company here in town called Moss Generation, and Moss Generation essentially just connects startup entrepreneurs and scalable companies at an early stage get connected to each other. That was apparently a really hard thing in the local community of Pittsburgh. There just weren't events that facilitated that kind of interaction. And so we built an event. Me and my partner Andy built that, and that was the first successful company that I built. In the process of doing that, we networked with almost every entrepreneur in town. One of the more popular entrepreneurs, just in general, he knows everybody. He's just kind of around. He hangs out at the accelerators. He's got a solid network. His name is Jordan Robarge. I was actually on a call with him yesterday. Really, really great guy. He started that. He did it through One America Works. Not One America Works. It's a different company. He did it through Venture for America. That's what it is. VFA, Venture for America, great program. He told me all about that kind of program. I applied it. I got involved. He's just a friend of mine. I didn't help him build anything like that, all his own kind of thing. But he was a really, really great case study for a social enterprise, or at least a socially focused company in town. And it's hard to find those. It's shockingly hard to find social enterprises or social startups that actively help people. But he's been doing it for a good number of years. He's been really successful. He's been growing really consistently. He went from a food truck to a restaurant to both to a larger scale social enterprise that he's building programs out of. He's grown it from absolutely zero to something really, really awesome. As a result, he's a great case study, but he's just a friend of mine that's in my group and an active participant. So yeah, a really cool guy.
It's incredible. And he's teaching others to do the same thing.
Yeah. And for more context on that, it's called Revival Chili. The only people that they hire are re-entering citizens from previously incarcerated citizens from jail, getting out, that have no skills, network, etc. It's just hard for people to re-enter, right? There's a lot of problems with that kind of process. He saw that. They're still skilled individuals. They're smart. They know what's going on. Like they're just anybody else. They just got dealt a bad hand. And so gives them an opportunity, and in the process teaches them a little bit more about social skills, how to build a network, a lot of basic kind of entrepreneurial things, and how to start stuff, just kind of like I do. But yeah, he's been incredibly successful. He's helped a ton of people in the local community with it. So really great group. I would highly recommend you look it up. Revival Chili.
Absolutely. Revival Chili. Definitely look that up. I saw a quote from you that said that you used to think that social media was a waste of time until you began using it to brand yourself and using it as a branding tool. So what?
You really, really dug deep.
All you got to do, all I did was put Max Mihro in Google, and all these little quotes pop up. You know what I mean? You're famous. You're internet famous. Just saying.
I don't know about that, but that's cool that you found that stuff just by Googling me. So yeah, that quote. Repeat the quote. Sorry, I interrupted. I got excited.
You said that you used to think that social media was a waste of time until you began to use it to start branding yourself.
Yes. So everybody on the internet loves to talk about just mindfulness, like there's been a big kind of in the past like few years, mindfulness and being kind of sane, like keeping your sanity and just like mental headspace and everything like that has been a really, really big push. And that is unbelievably important, and I'm super glad that that's happening. But as a result, a lot of people that have condemned social media in that space, people have just kind of condemned social media as useless, right? There's no good point about it. You can talk to your friends other ways, screw it, right? Which is mostly fair, right? Like if you just use social media for entertainment and you can get your entertainment in healthier ways, great, totally agree with that. But having a personal brand on social media is literally the way that I've done everything in my entire life related to business. Like just being able to reach out to, I have like 9,000 followers on LinkedIn. That's the process of building and just and trying really hard for like 2 years. That network has been incredibly helpful for me in terms of just getting gigs, in terms of getting clients. Like my agency would not have started without that kind of network, right? I would not have a functioning agency right now. In terms of starting my live stream, in terms of building an audience, in terms of like getting like every position that I've ever gotten for freelance, the freelance work that I do on the side came from that network. Everything that I've ever done, I'm doing deal flow for angel networks. I did some VC work in college. All of that was a result of me doing stuff on the internet and saying, hey, I do stuff. Like I didn't even have to be an expert. I was a kid. I'm still a kid. I don't know what I'm talking about. Yes, I can prototype stuff, but I'm not more skilled than any individual necessarily. I just publicly screw around. Like you would be shocked with how seriously people take you in terms of work, in terms of intelligence, in terms of skill set, in terms of everything. If you just put a lot of stuff consistently on the internet. And the only way to do that really consistent, like in a nice format, is social media. Whether that's Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever it is. But everybody that I know, every entrepreneur that I've talked to says the best way to get to make starting stuff easier, way easier, is to have a network on social media, a following. So that's the reason that content creation is nice. But if you're not creating content, you're just kind of absorbing. If you follow a few people that help you, great. If you're just using it for entertainment and you could get healthier entertainment elsewhere, totally support you just blasting social media and dropping it. So, but it depends. Yeah. So personal brands are unbelievably helpful, and I would recommend everyone have one.
Absolutely. One of the social media platforms that you sort of focus on is LinkedIn. And is that what made that choice to sort of focus on LinkedIn? And is that where aspiring entrepreneurs are?
So I went to LinkedIn because in my process of networking with like 100 entrepreneurs, when I was trying to figure out what the heck to do with my life and how entrepreneurship functions, I talked to a guy named John Fry. He's still really popular on LinkedIn, really, really cool guy, good friend of mine. I hopped on a call with him because I saw him posting on LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn because every time that I hopped on a call with somebody or went to a meeting with a CEO or founder, I connected with them on LinkedIn afterwards. And I was like, aha, I'm building my network, whatever. That's what I was using it for. And as I was on the platform, I saw a few people posting videos. And I was like, okay, it's almost like they're treating this like this is like 2 years ago. It's almost like they're treating LinkedIn like a social media platform. And I was like, what? That's weird. And so I messaged John. I was like, hey, super cool what you're doing. Can you tell me more about like why? And we hopped in a call for like half an hour and he explained to me and just hyped to me. He's a great hype man. He just hyped to me like all of the excitement around LinkedIn, how it functions and why it's valuable, and why LinkedIn video at the time was really, really powerful. Now it's more text kind of posts, but it was really, really organic, and he was able to build an audience really quickly just by creating decent content on the platform because it needed content creators. Now it's gotten a bit more saturated, a bit harder, but it's still a great place to grow an audience. And it's still new, and that's the reason that it's nice, right? Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, everything is usually pretty dang saturated with a lot of stuff, right? So it's hard to build a popularity there. But with LinkedIn at the time, it was a lot easier. It's still easy, still easier, not as easy. But he hyped to me. I thought, hey, this would be interesting. Maybe I could start creating content here. And that was kind of the birth of Entreprenerd. And I started to make content around the space and things that I learned and business tips and whatever. It was just very experimental. But that's why I got into it, because it seemed like there was a lot of organic traffic that I could get, and I could grow an organic audience easier than I could in other places. I wouldn't say that it's where the aspiring entrepreneurs are. I'd say it's where everybody in business is, regardless if you are a professor or you are a creative that runs your own agency, right? Like, or you do freelance in marketing in a specific kind of niche. Anything, if you are doing business with anything, you are probably on LinkedIn, and that's the reason that it's really nice. So if your audience is that at all, great, you should be on LinkedIn. Everywhere else is just as good to start making content. It really doesn't matter what platform you kind of hop on. LinkedIn's a little bit easier to grow an audience if you have business related content. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's where aspiring entrepreneurs are. I'd say it's where business kids are. And maybe that's a little bit more custom to entrepreneurs, but I've seen a lot of startup stuff and a lot of startup talk and a lot of tech talk on Twitter, which is where I don't spend a lot of time and I need to spend more time. So it just depends. But like this is still a great place to create content.
Absolutely. So last thing for you is, so where do we want to take Entrepreneur? How big do we want to make this? Where are you going to reach out to?
Yeah, that would be
What's the big dream?
I have so many like ideas, and I love just sitting in bed at night, just listening to lo-fi music, just dreaming about what I can do with it in the future. Um, the big goal for the future is I want to do this full time. That's like the short-term goal. I think I can
Mhm.
get there in the next year. That's like what it's looking like, and that's incredibly exciting for me. I'm trying to work really hard at it, but that's the short-term goal, just to get to full-time paid, whether that like through sponsorships and speaking gigs online about teaching entrepreneurship. Um, Great, awesome. Long term, in the next 5 years or so, the goal is to create a pretty massive education platform. Like I want to be the place that people go when they want to learn about entrepreneurship, when they want to learn to start something, or when they want to actually start something. I want to create an online incubator program. I want to create my own virtual accelerator. Everything, so people of all walks of life, no matter where you are, as long as you apply and you have like you're willing to put in the effort, I can teach you everything you possibly need to know about starting something small and get you at least kind of from 0 to 1. It's not that hard. I've gotten kids from 0 to 1 before. Like it's getting there is not difficult. There's a process that nobody knows though, because it's not teached or taught, teached. But I would love to create an incubator, accelerator. I want to be the biggest person in the space when it comes to starting new stuff. I want to, yeah, I want there to be a platform that kids not only go to learn about entrepreneurship, but to start stuff. And so that's probably 5 years in the future, but yeah, I'm super excited about it. And there's plenty of other ideas beyond that. We're creating stuff every week, so why not?
Absolutely. And there's no reason you won't get there, because I mean, you do entrepreneurship every single day. And so
It's the
an
hope.
entrepreneurial plan and the big idea and moving forward towards that, you know all about it because you do it in 90-minute segments. You can definitely do it in a year. So
Yeah, that's the hope.
absolutely. Well, Max, it's been awesome talking to you. And besides entrepreneur.blog, which is where your website is, where can people follow you?
Yeah, so LinkedIn, great place to follow me. I do all my
Mm-hmm.
live streams and everything there. I post a little bit of extra content there. But you can if you go to entrepreneur.blog, you can find all my social channels. I have my Instagram link, my LinkedIn link, my Twitter link, to everything. My Twitch is also a really nice place. So twitch.tv/entrepreneur_nerd. Couldn't get the username entrepreneur. It's very frustrating. But yeah, my Twitch is the best place because I do all my live streams there, and it's the easiest way to interact with me on my live streams because the delay is the shortest. But yeah, you can find everything on entrepreneur.blog. We'd love to hear from you. Yeah.
Awesome. And we'll make sure to put them in the show notes of all the channels. And if you are watching this on YouTube, you can catch the audio version of this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere that you listen to podcasts around the globe. Also, will be available on YouTube as a video format. And thank you for being here, Max. Glad to talk to you.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. This is a lot of fun.
All right.